I'm chairman of the board of the Associates of Boston Public Library, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you to our annual meeting and our 100-year retroactive book award.
But we come tonight to, to decide what was the greatest of them all, the books written in 1910 by three remarkable women: Jane Addams, for her 20 years at Hull House, Edith Wharton for her Tales of Men and Ghosts, and Emma Goldman for her Anarchism and other essays. We have three, I won't say equally, enormously distinguished champions of these three books. Louise Knight will go first.
I'm delighted to be here. Delighted to be in 1910, I must say. I'm usually just there at my computer being in 1910, and here I'm in a room. Okay, so these days, the National Book Awards Foundation gives prizes for literary excellence in fiction and nonfiction. I mean, these days, 2010. Tonight I will argue that Addams' 20 years at Hull House should be recognized for literary excellence in the categories of nonfiction, arts and letters, and fiction, and should be therefore awarded the National Book Award. Written when Addams was 49 years old and world famous, it set forth her adoration of her father, her struggles with religious ideas, her delight in gaining culture in college, her confusion in her 20s about what to do with her life, and the fascination and perplexity of her first 20 years living at her new settlement house, Hull House, in Chicago. Addams describes the book as her effort to, quote, trace the experiences through which various conclusions were forced upon me. At times, Addams is the observant explorer, and we hang on her words when she writes of her extreme distress or her astonishment at some experience. But just as often, the explorer is her group, the residents of Hull House.
Now, though, we make the case for his first collection of hers, which is called 1910. And I think that Emma actually belongs in the category of public affairs at a time when public affairs was really merged with stirring rhetoric. The conviction that revolution and the life of his senses dare not be mutually exclusive made Goldman eloquent in defense of causes, sexual freedom, birth control, marriage reform, that a majority of her fellow anarchists derided as trivializing. Indeed, after the party of Lenin came to power in 1917, declaring the proletariat glorious, the intelligentsia contemptible, and any who said otherwise an enemy of the people, she knew that the Russian Revolution was past.
Well, folks, Edith is back in Tinseltown, munching just fine, thank you, and taking meetings about her new book, Tales of Men and Ghosts, that skirts the edges of the paranormal, which is hot now in Hollywood. What with the Twilight franchise and the new Clint Eastwood movie, The Hereafter, the so-called ghosts in these stories are not the heartless avatars of mortality. These ghosts are the less than vaporous, fleshy fellows of the lives that certain gentlemen have failed to lead. Like Hubert Granny's a failed playwright, the men pace for pleasantly lamp-lit libraries in their well-appointed Fifth Avenue apartments. After years of trying, Hubert Granny simply can't sell a damn thing. So, in a sort of Hail Mary pass, a Broadway or bust last-ditch effort, he confesses to a murder that happened years before. And guess what? Nobody buys it. He can't even sell himself as a criminal. They pack him off to a fancy loony bin, denying him even the dignity of prison. One needs to put this book in the context of Edith's profoundly unhappy marriage. In 1908, Edward Wharton Teddy was determined to be incurably mentally ill. They divorced in 1913, 3 years after this book was published. Was the book a catharsis written upon the deterioration of her marriage? Possibly, but the upshot is that the lady is back in La La Land, taking lunch with a big studio exec.
We have a verdict. We have a verdict we have a verdict from the voters. Exit polls and all that good stuff. Marielle, you wanted to say, let's get more interesting. There's not a question in my mind that these are three immortal American voices, wonderfully presented and advocated. The vote of the people, though, and we abide by that, is that the great book, or the great author of 1910, the great book, were Jane Addams and 20 Years of Hull House. Congratulations to Louise Knight for her
To Jane, yes.